It's not very often in sports that you say something has never happened. First time it's happened since is a phrase that's commonly used, but never something that's like, hey, this has never happened in the history of a game that's over 100 plus, well, thousands of years old, not thousands, hundreds of years old, officially over 130 years old. And we had that happen this past week. And no, it's not Xander Schauffele winning the Open Championship, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Nick Dunlap. David Duval in the Colorado Open is coming up this week. Some interesting names. Mitchell's favorite golfer, Michael Block, playing over at Green Valley Ranch. And Bryson DeChambeau's latest breaking 50 with number 45. We're going to talk about all of that. And we've got our weekly fairway or four. All right, let's tee it up. What a weekend we had in the Chi-Town. Mitchell, what's up, man? How you doing? How are you recovering from your botched flight scenario? Because you had a rough go of it. I'll just say that.
Bro, at this point it is never ending. Every single flight I take from Chicago to Newark and vice versa, I just know it's going to be completely fucked right from Jump Street. So we were supposed to fly out at like 6:15 p.m. Before we even get to the airport. It's delayed till 7:15. Then it's delayed till 8:15. Then it's 9:15. So we sat at the airport. It was pretty funny. I don't know. Did you see that I tweeted United?
Yeah, I did. I was going to ask you about that. Now that you're a tweeter of an airline tweeter, you've officially put yourself into that mold of people.
Yeah, I didn't bitch about it directly, but I just was more of like making a joke. It was just funny. I said they're going to need to pay my bar tab. But then they responded, shockingly enough, and
What was the guy's name? Like TM or D or
AM.
AM?
I was like, thank you,
AM
AM.
to the PM, PM to the AM. Oh,
yeah, our fucking flight took us from the PM back to the AM. But guess how much? I'm torn on this because the guy responded like they would have had. I wouldn't have been shocked if they would have said nothing. Like they don't to 99% of people. So the dude responds, whatever. And then he goes, "Let me know when you get to your gate, and we will compensate you accordingly. Whatever." So I'm just firing off tweets. I'm like 7 vodka sodas deep at this point, sitting at the airport lounge. And by the way, so we sit at one of these bars, and the bartender, like, we've both been in the service industry. We get it. You're busy, whatever. He literally like served everybody but us, like ignored us, basically, it felt like. So we get up and we tried to put in food. I said it like 3 times. I didn't want salmon. I said it 4 times. I ordered a fucking flatbread pizza 3 times and he never put it in. And then like, I'm like, hey man, can I get the check? I was like, just to make sure that pizza's not on there. He's like, oh, you ordered the pizza? I'm like, no, dude, forget it. Like,
oh no.
So, but then it was actually kind of funny because this bartender had to walk over to this other restaurant to grab this food. And we went and sat at this other bar in this restaurant. So he kept walking right by us, sitting at a different bar because he had to go grab the food. So every time he like walked by, he was like staring at us. And I'm like, bro, if you would have been a better bartender, we'd still be sitting at your bar, but you fucking suck, dude. So anywho, United, they come back and take a gander. So they sent us miles. How many miles do you think they sent each of us for a 4-hour flight delay?
5,000.
2,500 miles a piece. So, which is basically the equivalent to $25. Like,
yeah,
what a fuck.
It's the equivalent of Wi-Fi 3 times.
Yeah.
That's 3 Wi-Fis.
So, like, I don't want to be that guy that's bitching about getting something because so often you get nothing. And I think that is really the crux of the issue with the airline industry is you're at the mercy of whatever they want to do. Like, you have no choice. And so many people, they'll string these people along. They won't cancel their flights, so they hang around the airport for hours and hours and hours because they don't want to refund these people. So they'll string them along, and then these people are fucked. Like, we probably could have just gone back to Amanda's, our friend's house that we stay at in Chicago. We could have gone to Amanda's, but then again, I looked at flights out the next day and there was nothing available till like 3 p.m. So we would have basically wasted a whole other day if we would have hung around, whatever. And I will say part of it was due to weather in Newark. There was a big ass rainstorm coming through in Newark, but the first three postponements were due to switching aircraft and mechanical problems and this and that. So, long story short, I spent about $175 at the airport bar, which honestly could have been worse. I feel like they may have hooked me up a little bit. Maybe they felt bad for me. But $175 in like 4 hours. So, in the grand scheme, not terrible. But yeah, by the time we walked through, we were supposed to land in Newark at 9 p.m. We got back to the apartment at like 2:15 a.m. So it was a long fucking day of sitting, or long evening, I guess, of sitting around doing nothing, and just getting annoyed, you know, more and more annoyed as the night went on. But we're over it. I've slept pretty good these last few nights, so that's been good. I've been tired as fuck, so I finally feel like I'm reset today, or pretty close to it sleep wise. But yeah, I'm so done with airlines at this point. But you have no choice. You know, if you have to fly, you got to pick one of them, and they all fucking suck. I mean, you saw the stuff with Delta. Delta canceled 5,500 flights these last like 4 days. I guess that was more flights than they had canceled like all of 2019 and 2020 or 2018, 2019 combined. Like
Yeah, it was
absolute
like
bananas.
they were canceling more flights in the last week than they had in entire years prior.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so my flight experience was a little different, and I don't mean to rub it in here. I will say we were delayed about 10 minutes getting out of Denver on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning airport, super early, busier than I thought it was going to be, and I think it's because of this Delta stuff, the amount of bags at DIA and just people's shit that's just everywhere, it gave me serious anxiety. I thought for sure I wasn't getting half of my shit back, but it turned out pretty well. But at DIA, we had like a 5-minute delay once we were on the plane because they couldn't get the fucking door closed, and I was like, and dude, and like normally I've been really lucky. Like I'm knocking on my wood here. I've been really lucky in my flights.
Your wood.
Yeah, my wood desk here wouldn't make that other part wouldn't make that kind of sound. It yeah, so I've gotten super lucky, but like we were like get on the plane, they're like okay, we're going to delay it cuz we can't get the door closed. And I'm not like a huge anxiety person, like I don't have a lot of like crazy thoughts. My mind immediately went to they're going to get this door closed just so we can get this flight off. Middle of this flight, this fucker's opening up. We're going to get sucked out of there like a vortex and we're all done. Like this is my last flight. And so I had a complete like 5-minute panic attack. So they brought maintenance on, got them to close the door, door's locked, whatever. They're like, we're good to go. I'm like, okay, I trust you more than I trust anyone else. At this point, I have no choice. And I was kind of waiting for somebody to actually out loud freak out. I was quietly freaking out, but I was waiting for somebody to like, oh my God, like get me off this plane, you know, because
See, I think that's like a little bit of an extreme thought. Like the thought of the door, like not being able to close doesn't make me think it's gonna fly open mid flight. If anything, I feel like it's harder to close. So once it's closed, it's gonna be harder to reopen. You ever consider that?
no, I didn't.
Um,
That's a good spin zone on that because all I could think of was something's clogged in there. It's gonna fucking pop it back open. This is my last flight ever. You know, sayonara, RIP. I got my golf clubs with me, whatever. This shit's going down.
well, dude, I mean, as of recent, it feels more like, you know, we get free upgrades having some United status, and we upgrade to Economy Plus, and a lot of times we're in the exit row. And I used to never think twice about the exit row, and now I'm like, fuck, like I don't know. It's just a general feeling about flights, how all the Boeing news has come out, and we fly a lot of United, so it's one of those where you have to think about being more prepared than you used to be. I feel like I'm like, fuck, if I am in an exit row and I do need to help somebody, like, am I ready for that? Because I would be shitting my fucking pants. And I guarantee you, if I'm not doing well, my girlfriend's losing her fucking mind next to me, and she's always the one on the window. So she would be the worst help of all. But it's very concerning. A few flights ago, there was water leaking from the ceiling, like running down the window next to us. Like, that's even more fucking concerning, because where's that water coming from? We're 35,000 feet and there's fucking water running down the wall next to us.
We had that happen on our way back from Dallas. Like, it was like coming down and like hitting us.
Yes, it hit Missy a few times in the head, and I was fucking cracking up. But at the same time, like, I mean, we saw a flight recently in this last year where the exit door just ripped off. Not like the entrance door, but like the emergency exit door. And yeah, I mean, it just feels like flying nowadays is, and it's one of those two where the less you know, the better off you are. Like, I just want to get from point A to point B in one piece. Because the more you think about it, the more it freaks you out. And my least favorite thing is when the flight immediately starts with turbulence. Like, you take off and it's turbulence from like the fucking jump, because then it just feels like the entire flight is going to be that way, and it sketches me out. If we start off smooth, we hit a little turbulence here and there, I'm fine. But I remember the flight from Arizona back to Colorado earlier this spring. We literally just took off and immediately started shaking, just fucking like, and I was just so stressed out the entire flight. So, yeah, flying anymore is just a giant fucking nightmare. How electric would it be one time if you just like guessed, like bet on your flight being like postponed or pushed back, and you just didn't show up at the airport for like 3 hours, like till 3 hours after your flight? Because you're like, well, if we would have known it was going to be this late, we wouldn't have fucking showed up this early. But how electric would that be? You're like, this is going to be postponed like 2 hours. So you just show up like an hour and a half late and you're right on time. That would be money.
Yeah, you're just like, I know this is going to be delayed. Well, and ironically, so both of my flights, not to rub it in anymore, but both of my flights actually landed early going from Chicago and coming back to Denver. I landed early each time. Like, I already landed and was in my car headed home before you even got on your plane, basically, or were just getting up in the air. So I can't imagine how that was for you. So I apologize, but I won't apologize for both of my flights being early. My bags did take a while, or my golf bag did take a while, and I started getting some anxiety about it being off in the universe somewhere. My air tag on that is like dying, so I couldn't really tell where. I was like, oh, here we go, my golf bag. I'm gonna need a new set.
Oh fuck. Well, I mean, you could get probably $5,000 for that setup you got in there. But I will say, the other, like, the cherry on top that was just fucking even worse. So we were supposed to take off at 6:15. We board the plane at like 9:30. They get over the intercom and they say we have directions from the FAA we have to be grounded until like 10:20. We can't take off for another 50 minutes. So they board everybody on the plane and then just tell everyone we have to sit there for another 50 minutes. But then I will say, like we've talked about, which my conspiracy I think holds true, we got from Chicago to Newark in like an hour and 20 minutes. And on the way and the jet stream was definitely with us, but on the way from Newark to Chicago was 2.5 hours, like 2 hours and 20 minutes in the air. So I think my theory holds true that planes can go a lot faster than they generally go. But it's only when they really need them to. Like, if they're really running late, that's when they fucking kick that shit into overdrive. So it only took us like an hour and a half to get there, but we just waited for 4 hours to get on the plane and actually take off. So,
well, you know what's crazy to me, and that I think I just like, all those memes that are like, I was yesterday years old or today years old when I learned. I was today years old, not actually today, but it's very recent with how long we've flown in our lives, that the takeoff and landing time are when you actually like leave the gate and get to the gate.
Yeah, like
So
door to door.
yeah, and that always makes me feel so much better about the actual flying time because I don't know why. I don't hate flying. I just can't explain. I don't like being restricted in the air, like, and not being able to do much. And then, my Wi-Fi is going in and out, all this other shit's happening. So I'm not a big fan of being in the air, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't. Once it's gate to gate, you're like, oh, cool. The flight says 3 hours, but you're actually on the air 2 hours and 35 minutes or whatever. Because it doesn't feel bad when you're on the ground. But getting
Yeah.
on a plane and then being delayed more couldn't be me. I had some great luck early in, early out. Love to see that.
Well, okay, and another thing. So we got an Uber back from the airport. Our friend was going to pick us up, but we landed in Newark so late. So the Uber was $110 for a 30-minute ride, 1 in the morning on a Monday night. Fucking bananas. But this dude had like a newer minivan, and let me tell you, it felt like I was rolling in a Bentley. This shit was so comfortable. The big like captain's chairs, they had TVs. We had like control of the air in the back. I was like, damn, this shit rolls smooth. Like I've hated on minivans my entire life, and I will never drive one. But if I was in that position where I was potentially looking at a minivan, I would say now I'm more in on vans than I've ever been. Like I'm just a big comfort guy at this point. I'm past the point of wanting to go fast. I just want to relax and fucking get good gas mileage. So that I was pretty impressed with the minivan action. I was not, and have you ever thought about, this is shit I think about. You ever thought about like if people judge you for the Uber you pull up in when it's literally just a random driver that gets assigned to you?
Like, oh, no, that's actually one of the most insane things I've ever heard come out of your mouth. Like,
Like
if
you're
you're the
pulling up
Uber
in some
driver,
shitty Toyota Corolla and you're like, God damn it. I need a fucking black car or something. No, and obviously like
well, you can pay for that, big nuts.
oh, I know. It's fucking outrageous. Did you know you can get a helicopter Uber from Newark over into downtown Manhattan?
Really?
And
How
it's
much is
only
that?
like it's
How
like
much does that set you back?
$250. Like and it takes like 5 minutes to get from Newark to downtown Manhattan. So it's actually like a very efficient deal. One of these days I just want to fucking hop in a helicopter Uber. Although helicopters getting back, I mean, we'll finish up planes here shortly, but helicopters scare me even more. Rest in peace, Kobe. That shit fucking scares the fuck out of me. It feels like those things could fall out of the air at any point, and the wind could just take those puppies wherever they want them to.
Yeah, not a big fan of helicopters, but am a big fan of Lucy nicotine. That is my favorite nicotine that I'm just vibing on right now. I just got a reorder. I had to send my subscription on a little early flight to my house because I was running out of it. Lucy nicotine, as you know, we were nicotine users of a certain product for a long time. We have fully switched over to the Lucy nicotine. Go to lucy.co/BDE and use that code BDE, and you're getting 20% off of your nicotine order. Not only are you ordering it, getting it delivered to your house, you're not having to go to the gas station, but you're saving more money if you create a little subscription where you're saving 15% each time it's ordered. So Lucy nicotine lasts way longer than any nicotine product I've ever used. Right now, I'm rocking the apple ice still. It's kind of my favorite flavor. I am excited. In this new order I got, they have the eight breakers in the berry citrus. So very, very excited to try the berry citrus. Depending upon when they arrive, I may try it on the podcast next week. Whether that's, Sunday, Monday, whatever day we do this podcast, you never know. We like to change the schedule right on Marissa's head during the middle of a live show, so she can't freak out. But Lucy nicotine is by far our favorite new product. We use it all the time. I was using it on the golf course. And like I said, it does last longer. Like I go through a Lucy like every 4 or 5 holes, which also seems insane to some people. But to me, that's a long time. Like lasting an hour 15 when you're drinking. We were in Chicago playing golf on Monday, drinking some Arnold Palmer Spike, drinking some, transfusions as well, We were with the shout out to Aaron Chris from Collector's Cave, brought us some awesome stuff for the CHGO tournament. But we were playing with them, and we did win the tournament. No big deal. Passed first place along to the next group, but felt good to win our own tournament. But obviously, we don't accept the prizes. It's not fair. We just want to know that we played better than everybody else, which we did. But check out Lucy Nicotine. It's 100% pure nicotine all the time. They have breakers, they have pouches, they have gum. So many different options. Like I said, my favorite flavor, apple ice. Really excited to try the berry citrus. Pouches go all the way up to 12 milligrams. So if you really want to blow your socks off, get yourself some 12 milligram Lucy's. Level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/BDE and use promo code BDE to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co. Use code BDE to get 20% off and always free shipping. Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Also, our great friends over at Bet365, as we said on Sunday on our live show, The Open, had a rough final major. It wasn't great for the boys. Luckily, it had John Rahm sneak into the top 12, and that's why we always bet the each ways for golf, because you're not only betting on a player to win. Rahm was never going to win the event, but he ended up having a pretty decent, holding on to his hat, if you will, Thursday, rest of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, ended up finishing in the top 10. So that worked out well for us. Got all of my units back. Mitchell, swing and a miss, but we have swings and misses all the time. It's going to happen. We'll get you the graphic actually shortly for our picks for the 3M Open, which we use Bet365. Bet365, use the code ALLCITY when you sign up, and you get to choose between two offers. A first bet safety net of $1,000 or betting $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. They also have NFL season is coming up, and they also have a ton of great offers in the NFL payout. So you get your straight bets and parlays paid out if your team goes up by 17 points. So if you think the game is going to be a blowout, you don't want a backdoor cover, hosing you towards the end of the game. Once that team gets up by 17 points, that wager, whether it's a straight bet or in a parlay, gets marked as a dub. So use the code ALLCITY at sign up with Bet365. And you get to choose between those two offers. Must be physically 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about Nick Dunlap. Like I said in the Open, there's not a lot of things in sports nowadays where it's the first ever. It's always, especially in the golf world, it's probably like first since Jack, first since Tiger, first since, maybe the 1980s. But Nick Dunlap becomes the first ever player on the PGA Tour to win two events in the same season, one as an amateur and one as a professional. And I bet, although he won a pretty badass event, the American Express, correct? That's the first one as an amateur.
Yes.
I'm sure the final payout of the Barracuda, as small of an event as it was, felt a lot sweeter than winning the American Express.
Well, yeah, I would contend that the American Express, got him to this point of the Barracuda because he's got a full 2-year exemption because he won at the American Express. So that's, basically $1 million up front, because now the PGA Tour is giving every player basically $500,000 to start their season to cover expenses. But yeah, Nick Dunlap is such an anomaly for many reasons. First of all, he goes out and wins the American Express at the age of 20, shoots, I think 28 under, 29 under, some outrageous number to win that event. And then he gets his PGA Tour card, fully commits to the tour. And by the way, remember when that was a whole debate about if he should turn pro or not, and everybody was telling us we were wrong on social media?
Oh yeah, you were. Well, that was a TikTok we posted, and that was one of our most commented on TikToks, and people were saying, "Oh, you're so dumb," blah blah blah. The one thing that is kind of crazy to me though is I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't in the Open Championship after winning a PGA Tour event. Even though he won it as an amateur, how does he not get automatically in there?
Yeah, I mean, you went through all the British Open exemptions, Open Championship exemptions. So
Should I do that again?
no, let's leave that right where it is. Fucking 51 weeks away from now. But yeah, I mean, he shoots 29 under at the American Express, goes that deep. And then from there, he goes T80, or I'm sorry, so the Pro-Am, Pebble Beach Pro-Am, I think was an elevated event, right? A signature event, some will say. I don't know what the fuck they call it. This is a running joke at this point because I can't remember what it's called. He finishes 80th there, so I think that was legit last place. And then he misses the cut at the Genesis, T53, T48, cut at the Players, T11 at the Houston Open, cut at the Masters, barely made the RBC Heritage, another signature event, finishes 69th out of probably 70 players. Long story short, he hasn't had the greatest year. He finished T10 at the Rocket Mortgage, and then he goes out and wins the Barracuda. So, I mean, he definitely was getting his legs under him. He is a young dude, so I can't really knock him for that because he is fucking 20 years old. But it is just crazy that he's got feels like such a low floor and such a high ceiling where when he's playing good golf, it is tour, winning quality golf. And then when he's playing poorly, he could rattle off 5 or 6 straight miscuts in a row. So I could almost see the Barracuda being for him like what Akshay Bhatia, what it was for Akshay last year when he won, to really give him, that foot, because I think winning the American Express for him was a little bit like icing on, it was extra. He didn't expect to go out there and win. And then he gets his PGA Tour exemption, all of that. But then he goes out and wins at the Barracuda, and it kind of justifies his decision to go turn pro. And I think this will give him more confidence that he knows he can do it at this level. And so I could see him just playing even better golf from here on out. But he's now made $2 million this year, which is probably, I don't know what the NIL at Alabama is like. I'm sure it's better than most, but he's still probably making about 1.9 million more than he would be at Alabama this season. So I think he made the right decision. And I could see, like you said, he's 20 years old, so we have this kind of warped view because it feels like he is ready to just be out there winning because he's already done it. But I think there's definitely some time for him to grow, and it's a learning process for him on this journey, his first year on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, and I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm just curious. All right, put yourself in a PGA Tour player's shoes.
Okay.
You're on the tour, and money is equal. Let's say at the end of you're playing on the PGA Tour 2025, money ends up being equal. You make $3 million next season on the PGA Tour. Would you rather be a guy that has a lot of the top 20s, top 10s, maybe a few top 10s here or there, a lot of top 20s, a lot of made cuts? Or would you rather be the guy that kind of Nick Dunlap's turning into? Now, the win, never going to take a win away on the PGA Tour. It's never easy. There's still a lot of good players out there that weren't in the Open Championship that were playing. So I'm not taking the win away, but he won the American Express. Now, he didn't get paid for that, but he's now won the Barracuda. He's got 2 wins in 1 season, a top 10 at the Rocket Mortgage, and then missing a ton of cuts. If money's equal, you as a PGA Tour player, what would you feel better about if you were in their shoes?
That is actually a pretty good question. I would honestly feel better about playing consistent and making cuts, finishing in the top 25, top 10s. So I bet we could put Mark Hubbard's year next to Nick Dunlap's. And Hubbard has made like 18 of 19 cuts. So are you pulling this up, or do you want me to pull it up real quick?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Because Mark Hubbard has not gotten close to winning this year. Okay, so yeah, it's almost pretty comparable. I've got it pulled up right here. So on the year, Hubbard has 5 top 25s, 2 top 10s, 1 third place finish, no second place, no wins, but he's made $2,092,000. So they've made pretty comparable money, but Mark Hubbard has made 20 cuts out of 21 events. So he's just hanging in the top 40, the top 30, throwing in some top 25s here and there. He is 63rd in the FedEx Cup, which I really want to see him get down inside that top 50 so he gets to the BMW, because I think that'll be awesome for him to play in his home state, and for us because he wants to do a preview on the pod with us, which would be awesome, of the BMW. But I would probably say I'd rather have Mark Hubbard's season, because I feel like you play enough good, consistent golf. It's just going to be a matter of time before you see yourself in the winner's circle making more money. But when you're just throwing a win out here and there, it gets a little nerve wracking, I'm sure, but now he's got another 2-year exemption, so he's got nothing to worry about. But if you're at risk of losing your card and you keep throwing a miscuts, you got to accumulate some points and build some momentum. That would be like an NBA player going out and average. He's basically Nick Dunlap is Jamal Murray. He'll go out and shoot the lights out, make 45. I was going to say make 45 points, score 45 in a night,
45
whatever.
points in one game.
I know. That's like saying, have you hit this course? Have you ever hit this course before? Somebody we know may or may not have said that. But that's just a non-golf term, it's fine. But then Jamal could go out and score 6 points, and you're like, I need some consistency here. I need 20 points a night. I need 25 a night. I don't need 40 and then 4. So in the long run, I think Nick Dunlap will figure it out, because he is that quality of player and he's got a lot going for his game. But the inconsistency, I'm sure, gets frustrating for him. And as a fan, it's like, it's a betting nightmare. You can't bet on Nick Dunlap when he has one top 10 in the last 8 or 10 events, and then he just goes out and wins, like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, he shot 62, so it was a Stableford event, so the scoring looked a lot different if you were following along with the Barracuda. But he shot 62 on Sunday in order to win it, and he's stamping his name in the history books as the only guy to ever win once again as an amateur and a PGA Tour professional on the PGA Tour in the same season. And I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Like, that may be a little bit of a hot take to say because we just saw it and some recency bias, but for an amateur to go out and win on the PGA Tour, that was not since Phil Mickelson. And then to turn around and continue to parlay that into another win is something that I don't think we'll see again, ever. And another question for you, do you think Nick Dunlap, put yourself in his shoes now, you were in your own shoes as a PGA Tour player, now you're solely in Nick Dunlap's shoes. Do you think he was more nervous at the end of the Barracuda or at the end of the American Express? Because the American Express really didn't mean anything for him as an AM. It didn't mean money. It didn't mean status. It didn't mean anything.
I mean, it meant status. He automatically got,
I'm sorry, but it didn't mean like
money.
Know what I mean? Like you just get a chance. Like, it's like winning a ticket, but you just won more tickets to go try and win again, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. I think that he was probably still more nervous at the American Express. I would be, because a lot of people never get the opportunity to say they were a PGA Tour winner. So regardless if he ever did anything again, he can say he won on that PGA Tour, in that PGA Tour event, which, like I said, even 98% of PGA Tour players can't say. But then also the exemption means more than anything, because like you said, it gives you 2 full years of opportunities. And the biggest thing is getting into these signature events. Like, I bet if you take away the money that he's got in these signature events, that's probably $500,000 right there that he's got, that he's earned this year just by showing up and playing, which is a whole other topic for a different day, because it's kind of horseshit that you can go show up at a signature event, finish last place, and make, $100,000 or whatever. But I think still the American Express has obviously been the catalyst to what he's doing now on the PGA Tour. But he's one of those dudes, and it was kind of like Jordan Spieth when he won the John Deere and got out on tour, got his exemption. He feels like one of those guys that would have gotten out there either way. But that's just the beauty of golf, is you never know. There's guys that were probably, we don't even know their names, but they were in the same position and they finish, 3rd or 5th, whatever. Like Peter Quest, for example. Peter Quest got close to winning a few times on the PGA Tour last year in like special exemptions and shit. He didn't win, and now he's on the Corn Ferry Tour, still playing well, and will probably get out on the PGA Tour, but he could have been out on the tour for the last 2 years. So getting that one W means it just takes you into a different stratosphere. It's, it truly is a life changer for these guys. So
yeah, and Nick Dunlap, as you mentioned, he vaulted himself up to 63rd, so he's actually 63rd. Hubby Bear's up to 62, so 62 will get him into the FedEx St. Jude. There's only 2 more weeks left.
That is so crazy.
The regular season.
Yeah, which is wild to think of. Like the regular season's already almost over, but that's, I mean, not good news, but that means football season's starting, which you love to see. But like, how crazy is it that we plucked a comparison from the 63rd and the 62nd in the FedEx Cup, and these two dudes have had completely opposite seasons?
Yeah, exactly. Did Dunlap get FedEx Cup points for winning the American Express or no? I wouldn't imagine he would. If he had 2 wins, there's no way he'd be down at 63, right?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't get points because he wasn't a PGA Tour member. So, but speaking of, well, I guess we'll get into the Rocket Mortgage a little later, but my boy Tristan Lawrence, I think, is playing for the first time over in America. I don't know if he may be making his PGA Tour debut. So,
at the 3M this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of a dark horse out there.
Oh, a little Mr. Thurston. Let's talk real quick about our great friends, and we want to tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays. Shady Rays are the best golf glasses in the game. They have the new Green Wolves with the polarized lenses. They're incredible for the golf course. I made a mistake, which I normally don't do, and I forgot to put my Shady Rays back in my golf bag this past weekend. So I've been going willy-nilly with my Green Wolves out around the house. Need to get them back in their case in my golf bag because inevitably I always forget my sunglasses, and that's why I always leave my Shady Rays. I leave a pair at the office, always have them on during the podcast. I've been driving a million different cars around, get my truck back today, thank God, which I normally keep Shady Rays in my truck, but I haven't been keeping shades in my other cars, so I got to make sure I got my Shady Rays in my backpack at work and in the golf bag at all times. Shady Rays is by far our favorite sunglasses, and they will not break the bank. They're also going to give you 35% off. So exclusively for all of our listeners, get the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code AC35 and get 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. I will never wear another pair of shades on the golf course. The Shady Rays are by far the best. I love wearing them. We gave them out as a longest putt prize this past week at the CHGO tournament. We've got some more to give out at our Denver tournament in August. Make sure you get signed up for that. Spots are filling up quick. And another CHGO tournament. August, we're going to be back-to-back weeks of tournaments. Cog Hill, August 23rd. So make sure to sign up for that. That's also filling up pretty quickly. And one thing we always do on the golf course is drink. Even if we're working, quote unquote, you got to have a few drinks here and there. Shout out to Coors for partnering with us and sponsoring our tournament in Chicago. We got free Arnold Palmer Spike, but also our favorite beer itself is Coors Light. When you need a moment to chill, Coors Light is the beer that I always reach for. I also had we talked about my Fire Pit Coors Lights. I had some Coors Lights last night at the Rockies game. So baseball game Coors Light, Fire Pit Coors Light, kind of on that same level. Coors Light is always a beer that I reach for. It doesn't make my stomach hurt. It's super easy to drink and also gets me that really good buzz. So when it's time to chill, Coors Light is the beer that I reach for. When you want to hit reset, grab the beer that is made to chill. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right. One last topic we had to get to. Well, let's talk real quick about David Duval playing in the Colorado Open. There's some crazy names in the Colorado Open. Like I mentioned, Michael Block, Jim Knaus is a frequenter there, but the Colorado Open has the largest state open payout. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. The purses, I want to say, is it 150,000 of the winner or 100,000 of the winner? Either way, it's basically the equivalent of a Corn Ferry Tour event. So yeah, the field is stacked every year. The best mini tour players in America. Even some Corn Ferry Tour guys come out. It's a great field. Once again, I've said it year in year.
$250,000 purse. Winner gets $100K, a trophy, and an exemption from qualifying for all future CoBank Colorado Open Championships.
Oh, wow. That's pretty fire. So they can keep coming back. I say it every year. I just wish they would have it somewhere besides Green Valley Ranch, especially with it being the biggest state open in America. They could really put this thing up on a pedestal, highlight it with some great Colorado golf in the area. I will say the one convenient thing is it's probably the closest golf course to the airport. So it's easy to get back and forth to the airport for people to fly in and out. But other than that, it's just not my favorite course in the area. So I wish they would do it somewhere else. But yeah, it is a fantastic event year in and year out. And so like you said, David Duval is actually passing up an opportunity to play the Senior Open over in Scotland in order to tee it up because his son, I guess, is in the field of the Colorado Open. So he's getting the opportunity to tee it up with his son. That's pretty cool. But in my mind, I know David Duval's played in a lot of these events, but how could you turn down a chance to go play links golf? And he's probably going to make a little money off the sponsors that he has on his bag if he's playing in that event. And it's just like, how can you turn that down? I get staying home. It's a lot easier to get back and forth to the Colorado Open, more of a big fish in a small pond. But I just personally would not be able to turn down the opportunity as many years as you have a Senior Open Championship exemption not to go over there and play.
Yeah, it is kind of a crazy pass up, if you will, to stay and play in Colorado. But maybe he didn't want to travel, wanted to be with his son, wanted to play at his home state open. And if he goes and wins it, I mean, 100K is a lot more to a guy like David Duval at this point than it is going over and missing a cut. I'm not saying he would miss the cut, but yeah, it is kind of surprising that he is missing out on that. One thing that you shouldn't miss out on coming up here on YouTube, and we obviously our YouTube channel, make sure you're always following that, Big Drive Energy Golf. But this past couple days, Bryson DeChambeau, U.S. Open champion, had a breaking 50. So this is a great concept, and maybe we'll workshop this off the pod, but I also want to workshop it with you on the pod. I want to do something like this in Chicago, or next time we're together, we can find a course. Maybe we'll do it at Broken Tee here in Colorado. I want to do something to that effect where we try to either break 50 or just play from the red tees or play with one club, do a one club 2-man scramble. Here we are workshopping it live on the podcast, but I want to do something like that and record it for 18 holes and get some content out like that, because I really enjoyed watching this. Bryson DeChambeau, of course, if you haven't seen it, over 3 million people already have, and it came out yesterday. He had a breaking 50 episode, which is where he does a 2-man scramble. And he plays the red tees, the up tees, I should say, the very up tees at a golf course. And him and one other person, 2-man scramble, try to break 50 on 18 holes. Has not done it yet. And I won't give a spoiler away if he did not do it with the bad orange man or not. But he played 18 holes with Donald Trump. And so you watched the video too. What did you think what were your surprising takeaways? Because I have a few. And what a cool moment for Bryson. I'm not going to put politics into this podcast. Doesn't matter what former president or future president it was. You just got to play 18 holes with a person of that stature, which is incredible, and put it on your YouTube channel. That's that. And you're the current U.S. Open champion. Bryson's riding a high right now.
Oh, 100%. And I think as equally cool as it was for DeChambeau to be able to do this and to offer this, I think it was equally cool for Donald Trump to go out and do this. They're easily, I guess he presented this and threw the email out to both parties, and only Trump accepted. So it wasn't like he didn't invite Biden. And I mean, the political discourse from just this video, it shows how out of hand people have gotten with just politics on both sides of the aisle here at this point, where it's simply just a round of golf and people are now freaking out about one thing or the other. Bryson, I think, had to tweet out that he did this before Trump's assassination attempt. There was excuse me, like there was somehow a connection between the two. Like, who knows? It's fucking insane. A few takeaways. Donald Trump is actually pretty fucking good at golf. Like, for everybody that's like, oh, he's full of shit. Has he won 20 some club championships? Probably not. You know, but I will say he owns these golf courses and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And if that's the worst thing he does is say that he won the club championship, you know, where he's not telling these members they need to do this and that. Apparently, so my girlfriend's boss is a member at Trump Bedminster. And after the whole situation a couple weeks ago, every single guest at Bedminster has to like send in a background check, basically. Like, you can't just bring somebody out. Everybody runs through a strict background check. I guess now at all of his facilities, which is pretty insane. Just, I mean, I don't blame him because it's necessary steps, but he was talking about getting me out there and he's like, yeah, I'd have to submit like your name. They kind of pull a record on you and all this shit just to make sure, you know, there's no funny business going on. But yeah, Donald Trump hits the driver super well.
He didn't miss a single fairway.
Yeah, the
And
putting is.
He made an own ball eagle and an own ball birdie.
Yeah, even from the red tees, like it is crazy because he is 78 years old, but he does not strike me as a 78-year-old man. Like, we've watched a lot of old dudes play golf, and the way he was playing golf was not like maybe, and I thought about this, Fred Blanchfield, one guy that used to be a member at our golf course, and he was a very good golfer, probably in his early 80s. He could get it around, like similar to, I would say, what Donald Trump, relatively speaking, how he gets it around. Fred did love to hit that big snap hook, that big running low hook that he loved to hit. And I mean, he was still getting it out there 240, 250 into his 80s, but I was just overall, I was very impressed with Trump's game. The putting was absolutely fucking insane. The fact that he's lagging it anywhere close when his putting stroke looks the way it looks, holy shit. Did you see the still image of like his follow through and his right hand is fully underneath the club? Like, he's holding the face open as hard as he possibly can. And it rolls like 6 inches right of the hole, great pace. Like, the fact that he's getting it done that way, it almost looks a little yippy with the right hand. And Bryson actually talked about that during the video, but the fact that he was hitting it anywhere near, like, I know Donald Trump's like a showman, but to go out and know that that kind of audience is going to be on that video when he had just talked weeks ago about how good he is at golf, for him to go out and actually execute and like hit those golf shots in real time, that's fucking clutch. Like, that is about as clutch as it gets for your everyday golfer to go out there. And it was also funny when he's like, I don't play very much golf, but, you know, I'm just really good at it. I hit it really straight, but I just come out and win club championships. Like, there's just so many, like, audibly hilarious fucking points of that video, but also is awesome at the same time. It was, like, great entertainment.
Yeah, and the one takeaway I had from it is no matter who is the guy hitting the shots with Bryson, it just goes to show you the fact, and this is kind of piggybacking on what we talked about with the players and when you had the quote about Americans and being creative and playing golf, links golf versus American golf, is it doesn't have to be pretty to be able to get it around. And if you didn't know that by just watching any golf and you watch the Bryson Trump video, it will make more sense because he fucking doesn't look good doing any of it. Looks super unathletic, but playing golf and swinging a golf club are such different things. And Trump knows how to play golf. And there's so many people out there, like older people especially, that have played their whole lives. Their swing doesn't look pretty. You put them on a launch monitor or any sort of a swing training thing, they're not going to pass, but they know how to play golf. And that's something that is so, you know, it's lost in the game of golf when you're kind of into it, but not super obsessed with it. Is like there's swinging the club and there's playing golf, and he definitely knows how to play golf. Like, he doesn't look good. His putting stroke looks awful, but he was making putts and he gets it around. And it doesn't matter how you get it around. Like, practicing playing golf versus practicing your swing in a, you know, a simulator all the time is two totally separate things. Another interesting quote that Bryson said, and because Trump asked him about, he's like, is putting all shoulders? He's like, I fucking rip my right hand and do this stuff. And Bryson's like, yeah, I just kind of keep it on my shoulders. But the one interesting quote he said is he talked about Bryson drawing the ball because, I mean, he was hitting straight balls and he's hitting 3-wood 300 yards there, which is insane. But he was like, yeah, you like draw the ball a little bit. And Bryson's like, yeah, I try to draw it when I can. And he goes, a lot of guys are fading the ball now. And he goes, well, that's an equipment thing. And did you catch that? Like, I was very curious, and your knowledge can probably get us deeper down this rabbit hole than mine. But I was curious when he said that, like, oh shit, maybe a lot of the way equipment's going nowadays. Like, I feel like it's easier to fade the ball. Bryson said it's not. He can't control the spin as much. He spins it too much when he fades it, which is a fair assessment for his game, of course. But what did you think about like that comment and the equipment making it the ball fade? Like, I guess I didn't totally understand it.
Yeah, well, so it's more from a perspective of woods, I think he means, as opposed to irons, because Bryson, it's basically due to the lie angle. Because back in the day, drivers used to be a lot more upright than they are now. All woods used to be more upright, which then creates a spin axis of a right to left ball, as opposed to what is now a pretty flat club. So that is what I think he was referring to, was the clubs now, especially the drivers in the woods, are built so flat that it is truly hard to get a right to left spin axis on it by delivering, the club in a upright position. Because like I said, I think he plays his clubs like 4 degrees upright, but then you see how upright Bryson's arms are at impact. He definitely feels like he's pretty tall. He's not delivering low hands at all by any means at impact. But that was really what I think he meant by equipment not being able to not conducive to hitting a draw nowadays as opposed to back then. I'm just going to run through the few notes that I had that I thought were funny. DeChambeau calling him Mr. President and saying the president is inside me multiple times.
Yeah, he said that. He said that, and I'm going to hit this shot 10 o'clock, like 12 times.
Dude, and I will say, though, that is a thing that he uses that so many people could benefit so greatly from using. If nobody knew what he meant by 10 o'clock, he's basically, his body is a clock. So up here is noon, his feet are 6 o'clock, and he's taking his hands back to 10 o'clock. So it's basically the equivalent of, a 3/4 swing, but like you said, how many times did he use that throughout that round? So that is a big thing that a lot of people could benefit from. Yeah, him saying he's inside of me, I almost feel like he was doing that as a joke, like on purpose a little bit.
It was a bit.
And then Bryson asking him about his favorite music, and it was all like classical, like big band music. That's very on brand for Donald Trump. I also think it's crazy. That like Donald Trump I don't think he cusses, and I don't think he's ever drank in his life.
Yeah, that's honestly insane. I have heard that before, but it doesn't seem like that would be the case. He seems like the guy to just rip a whiskey right when he's like in the round or after a round.
Especially the shit that you've heard he's done in his life. You're like, he's doing all this shit dead sober. Like that almost makes it seem more out of pocket. Like
maybe he's California sober.
Oh yeah, maybe he's chiefing on that green.
Or multiple other things that are
Donald
at the
Trump
disposal of that man.
Multiple times throughout the round, when he was like, "Don't you love it?" It's like, when you're playing when you have the aux cord in your buddy's car and you're playing like new songs and you're like, you love them, but you don't know how he feels. You're like, don't you love it? Like, just fucking trying to convince your buddy to like it. Cause I mean, obviously Trump is very proud of his golf courses, and he was just, remember on the video, he's like, look at that maple tree. Look how beautiful that maple tree is. And I would say Bryson handled it really well. Obviously, like you're not going to be an asshole to the guy that's invited you to his championship golf course, the owner of the place, and giving you all that access. You're not going to be a dick, but there was just multiple funny points in that round. And then I think DeChambeau and Trump are a little bit of the same people in the way that like DeChambeau kept bringing up his US Open win. Like, he's like, oh, I got my sand wedge. This is the shot I hit to win the US Open. It's like, no shit. Like, you hit sand wedge out of the bunker. And then he had like a 2-footer. He's like, oh, this is way closer than my putt to win the US Open. It's like, once again, no shit. Like, we get it. And then Donald Trump, like, bringing up his golf properties when DeChambeau's like, what's your favorite place in the world? He's like, oh, my golf course in Scotland, Trump Turnberry. He's like #1 in the world. He said it multiple times. And obviously we know that's Trump.
He's like, for me to get anything #1 in the world, he's like, fucking, he's like, that's pretty impressive for me.
I mean, your hand motions are not quite there, but they're getting close.
Also, one thing, Bryson only has 1 hole-in-1 in his career. That's fucking insane.
That I was gonna say, dude, that I was like, am I fucking hearing this right? And that just goes to show you. And then it was just great when Trump's like, yeah, I have 8.
I have 13. I have 14. I've made so many hole-in-ones. I don't even know. I make 1 a year. I don't even know.
Your impression is getting worse now. But no, he has 8 hole-in-ones, which is awesome because he has 8 more hole-in-ones than a 2-time major champion. He has infinity more times hole-in-ones than you have. So I'd keep it down when you're talking about the big man, fucking Donald Trump over there. My last note, well, a few other ones. His caddy being named Neville is just like so fucking on
point. What do you think here,
Neville?
Yeah. What do you got here, Neville?
And then I think a few times he called him Nev, like trying to shorten up such a fucking nerdy name like that. Like, what you got here, Nev? But Neville's just an all-time bad name. What is that cartoon that we used to watch where it's like Neville Poppinbottom or some shit like that? There's some kid named Neville in it.
Do you know Nigel? Was it Nigel?
No, it was Neville.
Oh, okay.
I forget what show it was, but that's just an all-time bad name. And then you could tell as well when this is my last note, and then we're done. You could tell there's a few times where Trump just wanted to take his drive, similar to the scramble video that we put out a couple days ago about wanting to take your own shot instead of taking your buddy shot, even though it's better. Where like Bryson was up a little bit to the left, and then you hear Trump go, what he asked his caddy, and of course the caddy works for him. So he's
I remember that. He's like, nah, I think yours, boss.
Yeah, he's like, I think you got the better angle here, boss. And Trump's like, yeah, and you hear Bryce, he's like, I like my shot, but we'll go ahead and take yours. So It's just Bryson and him are a little bit of the same person, where it's like the old Fig Jam Phil Mickelson saying, fuck, I'm good, just ask me. They both are a little bit into themselves. So it was like the perfect match. But also Bryson is a pretty damn good putter. I mean, we obviously knew this, but he made probably 2 or 3 30 to 40 footers. So I was also very impressed by that. Obviously, he's really good. But
Neville, real quick, Neville Papperman was the main antagonist in iCarly.
Oh,
that's a crazy pull, dude. You just told on yourself so bad.
Dude, that was a fire show like 15 years ago. It was a pretty good show. I watched a little. Marissa, did you watch any iCarly?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if that's an indictment on my judgment or not, but yeah, Neville Papperman, that's some funny shit. That's just a terrible name. Also, we got to mention Donald Trump just driving all over tee boxes like we knew he did it, but one of the clips from the cart cam, they're talking and they're literally driving over every single tee box to get to the red tee. Like there's staggered tee boxes going diagonally. You just see him like dipping down. There's the black tees, blue tees, white tees, and then he finally stops on the red tees. You'd be lying if you would say you wouldn't do the same shit on your own golf course. Like, no. Yeah, I fucking own the place. It's like being a parent. You do as I say, not as I do. Everybody else fucking drive on the cart path. This is my golf course. I'm going to drive wherever the fuck I want. And then a few of the divots he took around the green were absurd. Like, he had like a 20-yard. It was like a Wyndham Clark-esque.
It's pretty wet.
Yeah, very, very wet. So he chunked that one. That was Wyndham Clark-esque. And then him saying he loved Patrick Reed's game was just very perfect as well. Yeah. For all the players to pluck out of there is fucking on point.
Yeah. Well, that finishes it up for this week for us. We'll real quick run with a fairway or 4. Also, we won't put up the graphic, but want to get those out there so they're out there. Picks for the 3M Open Bet365 app. I've got Sam Burns, Keith Mitchell, Emiliano Grillo. Mitchell's got Sahith Theegala, Adam Hadwin, and Seamus Power. I'll start with my fairway 4 real quick. Motorized bikes are not bicycles. I'm fucking sick of these motorized people fucking speeding around and then they're like, I went for a bike ride. No, you didn't. You fucking rode a motorcycle and you pedaled a few times. Like, I don't know if it's annoying to me because I'm pedaling my ass off and people are just zooming past me, but they're not bicycles. You're not going for a bike ride if your bike is carrying you and making you go 30 miles an hour and you're not doing shit. That's a motorcycle that you just get to ride on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree. That's a fairway. My fairway 4 is the pull behind luggage is better than the push next to you luggage. I like 2-wheeled luggage more than 4-wheel because my girlfriend's is 4-wheel and I've been pushing that shit around and it's like I look like a fucking idiot. It's like getting off track. It's like veering to the right. It's like you got one of the shopping carts with like a wobbly wheel. It's hard to keep it in the same direction. Where when you're pulling it behind you, you know exactly where it is. You're not like running into people. It's behind you. So you know if you're walking in this like in a certain gap, that thing's staying in that gap instead of like maneuvering it out. But I feel like everybody's just like uppity with their 4-wheel push fucking suitcases. Like they think they mean business because they have a 4-wheel suitcase. So I'm just out on the 4-wheel suitcase. I think the 2-wheel, the classic is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I have a 4-wheel suitcase, but it converted it into a 2-wheel suitcase actually because you just pull it behind you. It just turns into a 2-wheel. So maybe try that with your girlfriend's luggage next time.
That's what I did. I ended up just pulling it behind me like a regular ass 2-wheel suitcase. I'm like, I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, that wraps it up for us for Big Drive Energy this week. Enjoy the 3M Open. Make sure to give us a thumbs up on the way out if you're watching this on the YouTube. Follow us on all social medias at Big Drive Energy, Big Drive Energy Pod on Instagram. We will talk to you guys next week after a exciting weekend, 3M Open, Twin Cities. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
Peace.